if you can get over those, whatever it is, fears or the stress or doubts or any of that when you're, on the court and the emotions are high, that'll help you out a lot. So I made that team, and that was like that team and the coaches on that team and the just great players over there. Really forced me to improve at volleyball. And within like a season or two of playing there, I was like, okay, I'm all in on volleyball. Whenever I kind of find I'm drifting out of that, is I just breathe and I think about nothing except for breathing. Let's take a second and just breathe for a couple seconds.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long-Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have business student and volleyball player at MacEwan University. He is the head coach at Spotlight Volleyball, Jonah Karsten. We will discuss volleyball, beach volleyball, and sports in general, coaching, and building a volleyball community in Sherwood Park, and finding joy in the present moments. Everyone, welcome Jonah Karsten, everyone. Yeah?
Hello.
That's how you pronounce your name?
Yep.
Sweet, man. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm Jonah. I am going into my 5th year of university at MacEwan. I am in accounting and I play on the volleyball team there. Volleyball is really a big part of my identity. It's what I spend most of my day thinking about and doing a lot of the time. I'm the head coach of Spotlight Volleyball, which we launched this summer. We did summer camps, and we have a lot of stuff planned for the future with Jake and Tyler, who were on last episode. I have a brother, I have 2 dogs and a cat that I love very much. Yeah.
You more of a cat guy or a dog guy?
That's a really tough one to answer. I was always a dog guy until we got cats, and like I think they can be hit or miss. Some are like really mean. But we have like the cuddliest, like funniest cat. So I'm a cat person for sure, but it's hard to decide between the two.
You take him out for walks?
The cat? No. Never taken him for a walk.
Dude, I've seen it though. I've seen some people walk their cats. It's
I think he'd like that. I think maybe I gotta get something for him.
But they don't actually need that much exercise, hey? Because they just go out and kill mice and birds, and they get their exercise by jumping all over the place.
Ours is more of an indoor cat. My mom kind of gets really paranoid about leaving him outside just whenever he wants. So he gets his bit of outside time most days, but just in the backyard. So I think it's good. It's probably good for them to get exercise, but especially the outdoor cats, you don't really need to worry about that because they're out doing their own thing. But ours is in the house mostly, so we do have to get him his own exercise a lot of the time.
Oh man, yeah, I got 2 dogs, man, and they're a handful. And then like we have to, like it's crazy how the personalities are really developed, and each dog. I've had quite a few dogs or pets in my lifetime, and yeah, they're beautiful. Just that I love having them around. Just when my day is just going bad, I come home and they're still very excited to see me. Cats do that?
My cat's there waiting at the door for me a lot of the time. I don't think most cats. I think we're really lucky to have a really affectionate one. Yeah. A lot of them just couldn't really be bothered. Unless they're hungry. Fair. And they'll bug you, but we have one that he'll wait for me at the door. So yeah. Do your dogs shed?
Dude, all the time. We have like 4 Roombas, dude. Like, and they have to run. Each one has to run once, and then like the way it works is there's 2 upstairs, there's 2 downstairs, and one goes, and then it has to. By the time we need another session, the other one still hasn't fully charged, so we have another Roomba. So there's just, dude, shedding's a big problem.
It's tough to keep everything hair free, especially like clothes. It's like I'll be like getting ready to go, I'll be wearing some black, so there'll be like dog cat hair all over it from whatever. I'll use the lint roller, get it all off me, get in my car, and all of a sudden there's still like hair all over me just because it's like floating around the house. So we have like our cat is white and our dog is white. Our other dog doesn't shed at all, but the 2 who do, it's like there's always just hair all over me, but it's worth it.
It's worth it, man. It's worth it when they look in your eyes and it's just, there's no judgments, and they all just, they want a treat, but they also just love you. Man. So have you put in your time to volleyball solely since you were a kid? Or
I was a basketball kid since I think like U9. So like since I was probably 8 years old. I played basketball. That's how I got really close with Tyler, Jake, David, Ben, all those guys. Until grade 10. So both my grade 9 and 10 seasons, I had kind of a big injury. Sprained my ankle in grade 9, had to sit for a bit, sprained my PCL like in my knee in grade 10 basketball. And I'd started volleyball in grade 8. So I'd been playing both sports for 3 years at that point. But I was still mostly basketball. And then David in grade 9 asked if I wanted to play for the club team for FOG, which is, it's going to be this stacked team. I'm like, yeah, I'll go to the tryout. Like I'm not a very good volleyball player, so who knows? But went to the tryout. They always are looking for people with like a bit of size. So I made that team, and that was like that team and the coaches on that team and the just great players were there. Really forced me to improve at volleyball. And within like a season or two of playing there, I was like, okay, I'm all in on volleyball. Basketball, getting injured too much. It's fun. I'll play it recreationally, but I want to go play university for volleyball.
And so physically, your body just adapted better to volleyball, whereas basketball, you were prone to a lot more injury. Now, do you think that was the result of maybe you weren't as passionate to basketball and you just enjoyed volleyball more, so you were taking more steps to ensure you didn't get injured? So how did that go about?
No, not really. I think it's more that basketball is a contact sport and there's the unpredictable factor. So, you land on someone's foot, good chance you're going to sprain your ankle. Sprained my knee because I got hit in the air, ended up landing like on my kneecap on the floor, which is like in volleyball, there's not people to land on or bump into when you're playing. It's all on your side and the opponent's all on the other side. It's not a contact sport. So that is definitely a huge reason why injuries were reduced. I don't think it's because I was taking, I wasn't really in the gym much until I started playing post-secondary. Like during COVID, we got a home gym, and that's really when I started working out a lot. But before then, I wasn't really doing much for the injury prevention or strength much at all, really. In high school and club, I was just focused on playing. And then I kind of realized the benefits of strength training, conditioning once I started university.
And I know taller people are just a lot more prone to injury, hey?
Yeah, back problems is usually a big one with taller people.
Because I remember when I first started at the gym and my friends who were like 6'3", 6'4", they always had like a lot of joint problems and a lot of, and when they did do sports, they were often the kids that did get injured. Now, as a tall person, how do you combat that? And sure, like there are people that aren't as tall and they're less likely to injury, but is there like a different set of exercises that people that are of a certain height do, or is it kind of just general, kind of for everyone they do this?
I don't think there's the specific tall person exercises. I think with our programs that we've done this summer, it's a lot of stuff you wouldn't normally see someone doing in the gym, because it is the main focus is staying healthy, right? Your best ability as a volleyball player, any athlete, is availability. So, he wants to keep our joints healthy, back, so there's a lot about kind of staying mobile and getting into like ranges of motion with not even that much weight, but just into kind of weird positions and having ownership over those positions, so that when you get into that in a match of practice, it's less likely you're going to hurt yourself. But I guess if you're taller, you probably just have to put a little more intention into that. Be more mobile, have a stronger core, because that really helps with the back problems. I'd say has been working on core and like glute strength. Helps you keep your posture pretty good. So yeah, back problems have kind of been an issue for me. It's been mostly the shoulder. Volleyball is a ton of stress on the shoulder. So that's been really something I've been working on, is trying to keep that as healthy as possible, be able to swing as many times, as many times as I need to. That's a big one for volleyball. But joints and like legs wise, in volleyball, I've been pretty good.
Yeah. I know you're like what, 6'5"?
Yeah.
Yeah. And gravity's acting on you, man. I was just reading this book, and like the taller you get, like the chance for injury is just exponential, right? Because you weigh more, and each step is just so much pressure on your knees. You need to make sure you implement a lot of those strengthening exercises to build muscle and strengthen the ligaments, or else, once you get into that awkward position, and Jake and Tyler and I were just talking about this too, where like, yeah, when you get into that position where you've never been in, yeah, it's just going to tear because you've never been in that position, and the muscle's never been put that way, or like the joints. And of course it's going to snap because it's just not used to that. So with volleyball, beach volleyball, and sports in general, like what do you think are the key differences in strategy and skill between indoor volleyball and beach volleyball?
They're two different sports.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, like there is transferable skills, obviously, and a lot of the rules are the same. You get 3 touches. Beach is usually played 2v2, whereas indoor you're playing 6v6. So you got a lot more people on the court. But with beach, because there's so much more, room to score, you can be a lot more crafty. Whereas in the indoor game, it's how hard can you hit the ball a lot of the time, because there's going to be a defender there in the vicinity where you're attacking a lot of the time. But if you can hit it with enough power, it's going to be harder to dig. Whereas beach, if you're just like crafty and have like a good set of shots, and can be aware of where the one defender is, because there'll be one blocking you, and then one defender has to cover the whole rest of the court. You'll be a lot more crafty with that. And I think just beach volleyball is interesting because you gotta really have chemistry with your partner, because it's just 1v1. Indoor is like that too, but it's more indoor is everyone has to like communicate a lot, because you're gonna have conflicts where a ball's between two guys. Everyone kind of has to know what's going on, and we do that through communicating. Beach volleyball, it's totally, I'd say you have to get to know the person you're playing with, know their tendencies a little more.
With beach, you're covering more ground. Hey, whereas for indoor, there's 6 of you on each side, and it's focused more onto your space, like libero, or if you're like the middle, right? And with beach, you had said you have to be kind of more creative, because when the ball goes there, like you have to really hone in on communication, because sure, you have to communicate in both, but I'd say in beach there is kind of there's more likely chance that the novelty in the game just uproots, versus in the indoor one, it's a lot more power. Hey, it's like it's kind of expected, and which move are you going to take, rather than in beach it's more creativity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, indoor is way more like systematic. Like you have your spot on the court among your 6. You got to do your job, which is been reduced to a smaller job because there's 6 guys on the court. Whereas beach, you got to be like an artist in everything you do. You got to like be so creative on defense or attacking. You have to make decisions a lot differently, whereas indoor is it's a lot more structured.
Do you find that playing more of beach just translates to indoor, or do you find indoor just translates to beach? Like, do you get better on one as you get better in the other?
Yeah. Like this summer is the first I've really played beach a lot, and I'm still like, some of the guys we've played against in tournaments and stuff, I'm like nowhere near that level. These guys have been playing, even if they're not the most athletic or a little shorter, like these guys have been playing for years, and it's like they do it so much during the summer. It's like you learn a lot from them. But I'm pretty new to beach relatively. I'll do like a tournament or two in other summers, but this summer I was in like a Tuesday league. I was in like a bunch of tournaments, so this is the first time I really grinded it. And What question did you ask me again?
There's like the indoor and beach. Do they help when
yes.
you do get better at one?
Yeah, especially myself. Like in the indoor game, I play middle, which doesn't go through the back row. You have the libero who takes out the middle when you're going through the back. So middles aren't usually passers. So I'm not getting many reps passing in indoor, even in practice, just because the position I play. Beach, everyone's going to serve at me because I'm a middle, and middles, typically aren't great passers, but I'd say I got better at passing this summer because I got to just pass a lot of balls. And even if I'm not doing that in matches, when we get to indoor season, it's still a good skill to have. And then the creativity too, you can bring into indoor, even when it is a little more systematic, but attacking, beach players just have all these crazy shots in their bag that, you don't see from a strictly indoor player. So definitely learned a lot and can transfer a lot over from playing beach this summer. And I want to keep getting better at both because they do kind of stack on each other when you can get better at those skills.
Once you play a passing role, right, and you've never played it before and you've just been the person to spike the ball all the time, when you do get frustrated that the person that is passing when you spike isn't doing it as good, now you have that frame of reference that, they do it because of that angle, and then you kind of have a better mindset coming into it, hey, by playing these different roles in beach that you had never kind of done in kind of the regular indoor sport.
No matter what position you play as a indoor player, beach will make you a better all-around volleyball player.
In your experience as both a player and a coach, how do sports contribute to personal development and life skills?
Oh, there's so many ways. The first most important one I'd say is just working with a team. That's like one of the best things about playing on a university team is I've got 20 built-in friends. I don't have to I try to like make friends in classes and stuff, but you got your boys who you're with every single day, and you might not get along with all of them perfectly, but you got to stay together and become more of a team, which is a skill, if you're, in the workplace or even with your family, getting better at improving those relationships with people is a huge skill of being part of a team. And youth sports, it's the same. I loved my first experience coaching a team with do you know Jacob Zimmel?
I do, yeah. I've heard of that.
Yeah, so I coached with him once our school season was done, and it was awesome. You just notice all these things that you didn't when you were a player, just how close these kids get and how much better they play together over a season of just spending so much time with each other. So that's a huge one. Kind of getting over like stressful situations, emotional situations, because those come up a lot in games. Sports are one of the most emotional situations you can kind of be in. So it really prepares you for when, things are going to get tough in other parts of your life. So if you can get over those, whatever it is, fears or the stress or doubts or any of that when you're, on the court and it's and the emotions are high, that'll help you out a lot. So there's so many things, so many advantages though of, playing sports as a kid and even into university. It's definitely helped me a ton, and everyone, I know who's an athlete has gotten a ton out of it.
Yeah. The mindset that you have in one endeavor usually translates to other endeavors, whether it be about education, about relationships, or when you're trying to learn to paint, when you're trying to learn to play a song on your guitar, when you feel that the mental friction of, am I good enough at this? Why am I wasting my time? I've practiced so much, I'm not amounting to anything. And it's kind of that self-talk, and how do you deal with the adversity, right? Do you let it shape you, or do you let it break you? And then as a player versus as a coach, you get to see kind of coaching with your friend Jacob, you get to witness the kids in their own kind of mental battles, and it's fascinating to see it from like a third person view. Hey, because even I've never played volleyball. I've never really been a coach, but I've taken guys to the gym and seeing kind of the mental battle of, oh man, like, can I do this set? Can I rep it out? Like, yeah, man, you got this. And kind of the encouragement that you give them and kind of the transformations that you see them over even a month, bro. You get to see someone flourish after just a month, and they land that spike, and then they master that jump. They get their vert 2 inches higher, and they're so happy. But then you also see them at that down point where their shoulders are a little bit, like their back's not as straight, and they're walking in the court, and they're already having that losing mentality. But it's then you're there to kind of guide them. And yeah, what do you tell your students when they do experience kind of this doubt?
I think like the most important thing when, someone's frustrated, someone looks like, they're not having a great time out there, they're struggling, is I like to just smile at them first and foremost. Like,
yeah,
let them know it's okay. You're playing a game. It's meant to be fun. It does get emotional. Can you keep your emotions in check and just play freely and loosely and understand that it's okay? Our captain on our team, our park team that we had, like super mature for a 14-year-old kid, is his, whenever, things got a little shaky, it's okay. That's his first thing he said. It's okay. Like we're back to what we're doing right now. Don't have to worry about whatever happened the last few points. It's okay. Like, let's go. Yeah. What do we got to do right now? So I think like having that kind of leader on the court really helped. And as a coach, that's kind of my coaching style. It's all right. Like smile through it, fake it if you have to, fake a little bit of confidence, put a smile on your face, and just go out there and play. Cause that's what we're here to do, is we're playing a game, and it should be fun. Right. And the emotions are what makes it fun, because, even when it's not going well, it's not maybe a positive emotion for you. It's, sports makes you feel stuff that's just crazy.
Yeah. There's this idea of emotional contagion. And you ever had someone like lose something, and then they're super neurotic, and they're like looking for their keys or something, their phone, and it makes you feel tense, right? It makes you feel tense, and you're also actively looking for them. And when you got a coach or a captain that is losing their shit, like they're ripping their hair out of their head, and they're just pacing back and forth, looking restless. And then you, as a subordinate, you're looking at that and you go, okay, that play didn't go as planned, or that it didn't go our way. How are we gonna use that as fuel to proliferate us to play better? Now, the captain's role, your role as a coach as well, is to just smile, take it easy, and go, hey guys, you did your best. It's okay. Keep going. Right? And then there's just, it's all kind of the same, right? Of kind of encouragement, and sure, you lose different words, but kind of that not losing that hope. And at the end of the day, it's for fun. And going, don't put too much pressure. It's not the end of the world. Right? How did you initially get into volleyball, and what drew you to beach volleyball specifically?
So the grade 7 team, all the boys, Jake, Tyler, Dave, they all played. I decided not to play in grade 7. I was like, volleyball.
Pardell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, Dave was like the most insane junior high volleyball player.
I heard he was an all-star, man.
Yeah. So they all played in grade 7. I was like, volleyball, I don't know. I like basketball. That's fun. Volleyball seems a little weird. I don't know. Yeah. And then grade 8, I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'll try it with all the boys. Grade 9 was really cool, because ABJ is when all the schools merge together, and it's all these kids that we've played in the past year against each other. Like all the best players from Holy Spirit, St. Teresa, OLPH, maybe some other schools that they decided to go to EBJ, they all kind of merge into one team, and that was really cool. And I was luckier than Jake because I made the team. But and then that's the year that Dave was like, hey, we need middles on this club team, like come try out. And then playing on that club team was a super competitive team. We won like Western Nationals that year in U15, and so just being a part of that was like whoa. It was just insane. And then since that kind of was the turning point, I'd say.
Yeah.
Beach volleyball.
How would you describe that turning point, like that feeling that came with it?
It's so long ago, but I don't know. I think the another turning point was when I got hurt again playing basketball, and kind of weighed my options out of the pros and cons of each sport, and my chances of playing university. But that there was maybe that realization. I was like, okay, if I want to play this at a higher level, at university level, like this is where it's at. Like this is where I can really do this. So I guess just a confidence boost when I realized that that I can play university volleyball. Basketball, probably not. I'm a pretty skinny guy. Or I was, especially coming out of high school. And basketball, you kind of gotta be pretty beefy if you're a big man. So I was getting I was getting bodied in the paint. Like I didn't stand a chance against a lot of these guys we played against in Edmonton in basketball. And the community is so much bigger. There's so many more basketball players. Volleyball is growing at an insane rate, but it was like there was there's less competition at the time. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna put everything I got into this sport.
I find too is once you experience those setbacks, like you had mentioned that you have gone through all these injuries, but then that only adds to the victory so much more because you experience these setbacks, man. And those like, you ever had I'm sure you've had many injuries, and you imagine what life was like before, and you go, whoa, was I just like taking my knee for granted? Was I just taking I had a recent shoulder injury and I just couldn't move it properly for 2 months. I suffered with this, and I just kept doing the kind of the strength exercises and physio. And then, I kept wondering if it'll ever go back to normal, and then just romanticizing the past of, wow, I had it good. And then once you experience that victory of winning that volleyball game, and everything has dissipated, the injury's not there anymore because you had put in the work, it adds so much more. Hey,
yeah, I've actually been pretty lucky since I have just been only doing volleyball. Like I haven't gotten really injured since I've been playing volleyball fully. It's been mostly just shoulder overuse injuries, but even then it's exactly that. It's like, oh, like I wish my shoulder felt good right now. Like I missed 3 days ago when it did. And it's the same if you're sick.
Yeah.
When you're sick in bed, you can't move. It's like, oh, I take my health for granted so much. I just wish I was feeling good right now, but it's
get that cold. It's like, what was it like to breathe?
It makes you appreciate it more when you at full health, full strength.
Yeah. It's the kind of the duality. It's the beauty of life. I think you had mentioned you are lucky you didn't get injured. I'd say it's not luck. I think maybe you're just more diligent into the strengthening exercises. Maybe you're more diligent with your sleep, with your diet. I'm a believer now, and sure, luck is involved, and you didn't choose to have the genetics that you got. You didn't choose to the parents, and I'm pretty religious. I really believe in all that, and that's another topic. But when it comes to injuries, when it comes to the gains and kind of the strength that we get and kind of the skills that we develop in the sport, I don't think it's luck, man. I think it's just you put in the work, you don't get injured, right? I mean, have you been implementing a lot more stretching, a lot more kind of self-development type of routine to prevent this?
Since starting playing university, for sure, I've taken that a lot more seriously. I've kind of been like a gym rat since then, I would say. Not other side of it is not overworking it, right? Like you can, like I don't go every day. I go 4 times a week and put in like an intense session and do the things I need to do, like you said, to help with that. Diet wise, I've been trying to get better at. I haven't always, been the best with that. It is a big challenge to eat well when you're like busy all the time in school and stuff. Something I've been trying to work at. But yeah, all that stuff kind of comes together. Are you working out? Are you doing, because you can go work out, but like not put much intent into it. And it's probably not going to give you any kind of gains.
Or
like
if you don't get sleep.
Yeah. And then you also have to sleep. You have to supplement it with good enough nutrition. And I'm trying to kind of level that up to like really good nutrition. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a step for me, like, a lot of protein to help the muscles heal. I'm not an expert in this stuff. Ask Tyler if you got more questions about this, but that all kind of combines into what results you get. And if you can appreciate the process of that, like going to the gym, getting, the stretches in, doing it with intent, eating well, sleeping well, then yeah, I'd say it's contributed to not having injuries. Although even the players who do the most of that stuff, they can still get injured. So I definitely say it is some luck involved, but it is, the process that I go through helps with that for sure.
Yeah, man. It's just once you learn one thing, hey, then you realize you're kind of lacking on one thing, and then you put in more time for that, and then you realize, oh, this is one thing that I need to do. And it's kind of just like trial and error, because then you experience like a food and, oh, my coach or my teammate said this was good for muscle building and this exercise was good, but then you realize, oh, it's not really helping me in my own kind of goals. And it's kind of just selecting a diet or routine, or whether it be you're a morning person or a night owl, and you realize what is good for you. You realize, oh, but it's kind of one premise though that I've been wanting to implement to everyone is just try. Right? Just, you don't try, you'll never know. Right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to kind of getting better at volleyball, when it comes to hitting the gym and being a gym rat, it's like you just have to put in the work and you'll learn. And like I find we become discombobulated because we put in too much thought into all these things and we just don't do it. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between actually talking the talk and walking the walk. And there's this quote by Morgan Housel, and he had said, there's a saying of, I'm in it for the long run. But it's like pointing at the top of Mount Everest, being at the base and saying, that's where I'm going. Okay, sure. That's cool and all that. But now comes the test, right? Like, when you want to be an athlete for a school and you want to be a better middle libero, you can do all that. You can like structure it so that in your mind, that's where you're headed. But James Clear also has this quote where we do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. Mm-hmm. Right. And because at volleyball, or even at a race, they've got the same goals, but it's the best. It's the person with the best habits, best exercises that triumphs, right? Every team, they all have the same goals. They want to win. Nobody goes in there and goes, yeah, I want to lose. Like nobody, I don't know who would think that. I've never met an athlete, but it's like, how much work are you willing to put in?
Yeah, I heard that exact quote like a couple weeks ago for the first time. I loved Dude, that
I
one.
Loved it, man. It was just like, it made me realize, wow, like I am in control.
Yeah, it's good to have goals. It's great to talk about goals. They really mean absolutely nothing unless you put in unless you execute, take the actions that you need to achieve them. I think like a lot of athletes might have fear of failure. That's why maybe you don't go all in. Yeah. I don't think you can think about it that way if you want to, be the best you can, right? If you think of success or failure as how many wins you get or how many kills you get or all that, I think you're going to be scared of not achieving that, and it's going to stop you from taking the actions you need to. I think like success to me is did you do your best in your preparation? Like, are you as prepared as possible for this? And no matter the result, I think it's a success if you can say you did the absolute most you could. And normally there's always something you can do better, which is the best part of that. There's always something you can improve on in your preparation for a match, in your how you take care of your body. There's always something. So just recognizing what that always is and taking action on it is really important.
There's this idea of like extreme ownership in that like everything that happens to you is your fault. And like people even go as far as like a car crash. And well, maybe it is like a drunk driver, but like, okay, did you switch lanes on kind of randomly, or did you kind of go over the speed limit? Were you stressed? Were you not paying attention? And it's kind of liberating for me to know that, if I do lose, if I do fail, there's something I could have done better. And I think that's the moment I've inhabited that mindset for the most part, because certainly there are times where I do, get in my head and go, there's nothing I could have done. Like I put it in my all for this game and I still lost. But no, you could have drank more water. You could have gotten more sleep. And maybe that social interaction with your mom last night and you guys got in an argument and you're thinking about it, maybe that made you not play as good. Maybe you didn't study for that test. You got a bad mark and that's weighing down on you, causing you not to play as well. Like there's always something you can do. There's always something that you can like shift your mind, or shift the way you play volleyball, the way you study, the way you go about anything. Like there's always something. And I've just learned to not compare myself like to people that have more, because it just certainly disrupts my action-based day. I mean, with volleyball, you guys are constantly comparing yourself though. Does that ever like get into your head? Does that ever like seep into your happiness at all?
It's hard not to when you play in when you play at the highest level in the country, right? It's hard not to pull out comparisons and worry too much about results, but that's something that I think from last year to this year, me personally, I'm not worried about anymore. I'm worried about right now, what can I do? The season's gonna happen. We're gonna win or lose games. How can we be prepared as possible once that time comes? What can we do in the meantime? Right. Our MacEwan team, if we're talking just in terms of win and losses, we haven't been very successful since I've been there, since we've moved up to the Canada West League. We haven't gotten many wins in a season. But if you're worried too much about wins and losses, it's gonna stop you from being as prepared as possible. I think like stressing about that stuff, stressing about what you have to do, and like preparing for what you have to do have like an inverse kind of relationship. A lot of times if you're too stressed about it, you're going to procrastinate it, I think. And if you can just move on to preparing for it and not worrying about the result, it's pretty helpful.
Yeah, it's kind of the framework you go into it with, hey? Like if you're identifying with the wins and losses and you go, like I didn't score this much, and you put a number onto your well-being, that's kind of where the downfall of what I see a lot of high achievers, a lot of high agentic people undergo, is that it's like you forget why you started in the first place. Like you were there to communicate with your homies and your friends, and you want to be better as a person, and so you engage in this high achieving sport and you get to the level where you are in the 1%. You forget that I was once here, now I'm here. Why am I obsessing about kind of the wins and losses when I have come so far? And kind of this being in the moment and being focused on, how can I be better? So with coaching and building the volleyball community in Sherwood Park, like how do you approach developing young talents in Sherwood Park, and what challenges have you faced in building the volleyball community there? Because I know with Spotlight, you guys just recently rolled out with a new kind of program.
Yeah, like this summer we did the camps. It was just once a week for each age group. One of the challenges was levels of experience being different within each group. So it was sort of by age. We had the junior high groups, which were all relatively even. There's like a few, there's a few who really stand out who have played club, who've already played club for a couple of years, so they have a little more experience. But at the junior high level, it's very, basic, you're introducing to the sport to a lot of these kids. High school is different though, because some of these kids have been playing for club for 3 years. They've been volleyball players for a long time, and then you have a few who haven't played for as long. And that's the challenge, is working with those together and still making sure all of them get better, which I think if you're touching the ball as many times as you do when you're at, the camps, when you're on a team, you're going to get better no matter what. But how are we optimizing that? How are we splitting things up and spending our hour and a half each night with each group to make sure they're improving no matter what the skill level is? And one thing I kind of changed plans with from the start to the finish is just playing a lot more. Like at the start, the plan was that most of the first 5 weeks out of 7, we're going to be almost all just about like skills and just touching the ball a lot and learning about individual skills and separating those out. But by the end, we had a bit of gameplay in each session. And then like the 5th week was a lot more gameplay, right? Because that's realistic. That's what you're going to be in, is you're going to be in a match when you are playing on your school team or whatever. So just more game-like touches and having to make decisions like you're in a game, communicate like you're in a game. That's probably the most important, more important than any physical skill of passing or hitting or whatever, is being able to be a teammate. And so I think getting these kids in gameplay situations was the best way I found to help them improve.
Yeah, kind of to mimic the actual game day. You want to make sure that you design their practices like an actual game. Hey, so when they are in it, when it is the day where they do play another team of another school or another club, then they're prepared, they're ready. And you mentioned that it's not just the physical, hey, and you mentioned communication. And how do you make these help these kids improve their communication skills? Because I found there are these really lots of athletes want to be the spotlight and they want to be kind of the MVP, and to do that they have to stand out by themselves, hey, and if they kind of cooperate with their team, that kind of takes away from them. How do you combat that mindset, which certainly is that rampant in kind of sports in volleyball where they don't play as a team?
Yeah, like ego is going to come in any sport.
Yeah.
And there is a level where, if you watch international volleyball, most of the guys don't. There are a few guys who are huge egos, but they're the best players in the world, and they're, they're making the people around them better. If you're playing at high school club level, you have to, no matter how skilled you are, you have to be able to elevate the people around you by talking and being a team player. I think I don't remember the exact quote, but it's like the old Brazil coach. It's like volleyball, it's a symphony. It's not like a solo performance. Yeah. And as soon as someone thinks they're special, you're done. Like everyone has the level of responsibility to communicate and elevate the people around you. If someone thinks they're the centerpiece and they're the one, key to winning or losing a game, and they should get all the touches, they should get all the attacking opportunities, then it kind of goes against whatever game planning and teamwork that you need for volleyball. That's a huge reason I love the sport, is how much game planning, how much teamwork matters. Whereas, basketball, everyone does have to play a big part, but you can have one all-star who's carrying you to win games. Volleyball, of course, having a great attacker who you can just go to as an outlet, it helps. But if there's one player on the court who's not holding up their end communication wise or skills wise, they get picked on, right? And they're like, you can't have anyone who's a liability in your six in any aspect of the game, or you're gonna struggle. How can you mesh so that the six are doing their job to the best of their ability?
I'd say like volleyball is more like there's pillars, and if one pillar is weak, the whole building will crumble. Whereas with basketball, that building may be upheld by this very strong pillar, and it doesn't necessarily take one for everything to crumble. But in volleyball, it's like the teams are a lot more fragile in a way where if you got one person that's wanting to be the spotlight and wanting to be the best and and instead of uplifting the people around them, they take away from them. And that's a recipe for disaster. And yeah, a rising tide lifts all boats, man.
Have you ever watched like an Olympic volleyball game or an international volleyball game?
No, but I've seen highlights. It's all very coordinated. It's like they don't even think,
They're
man.
so dialed in. It seems
like
impossible.
One mind. Like it seems like they just look at their teammate and they already know what's going to happen next. Like by like a half a second.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you get to that level of communication? It's just that those constant reps, hey?
Yeah, and then like with young players, we have to stress all the time. You have to talk. You have to communicate. You can't be silent, or you're going to struggle. The people around you are going to struggle if you're talking. And even if when you're young, even if you're saying the wrong thing, as long as you're getting in a habit of using your voice and communicating, I think that's really important. Like you gotta say something, and then if you watch the internationals, it's like they just know already. It's like they don't have to be obnoxious or loud. It's like they know where everyone's supposed to be, and they talk when they need to, and they share like the best kind of exact information they need to know. And it's really efficient. And that's volleyball, is you have to be really efficient with your skills. That's why we need to get a lot of touches and practice of those individual skills when we're at Spotlight and stuff, is, you have to be able to pass a free ball perfectly. You have to be able to set a good high ball. So the skills have to be dialed in, and then how you interact with the other players on your team has to be dialed into. And the level that's at when you watch international or pro games it's insane how good these guys' technique, how good their communication is.
You can't expect your teammates to be mind readers, hey? Mm-hmm. Like if you're going for a pass and your other teammate doesn't absorb that pass correctly and they're all looking at each other, and it happens in seconds, man. If you don't react within the next 2 seconds, the play's not going to follow through. And I think I was obsessed with habit books for like a couple years, and I was just like dialed in on kind of like what I do when I wake up. Like, do I reach for my phone? Like what do I do when I get home from work? Like, do I say good morning, or do I welcome my family with my love and attention, or do I have a smart frown on my face and act like my day is the worst? And I'd like to extend that to like sports as well, like the habits of kind of that mind muscle connection where you don't really have to think. It's just because you've deployed that action so many times that you don't have to engage consciously. You don't have to ask yourself like different routes. You don't have to really follow through with one because you've seen this 1,000 times. You just go, okay, he did that, and I've experienced that 1,000 times. I'm just going to follow through. And then another play, you experience that, and I'm just going to follow through with that. Because I think what is it? I think a lot of different psychologists say that it's like 50%, 60%, but yeah, around 50% of our days are habits. And when you take that to the court, it's like, yeah, a great majority of that is just sharpened because of the communication, because of those reps that you've put in. And when you don't communicate properly prior to the games, when you don't establish those habits, learning during game day is like, yeah, you've already lost. Because you haven't even, like, you guys haven't established that team mindset. It's all with volleyball. It's not individualistic. It's
No.
You need to be able to work with others to be able to succeed. And what do you believe are the most important qualities of a successful coach, both on and off the court?
On court, I think just the ability to keep everyone in the right headspace, which is like I said earlier, like playing free, not letting your mind kind of go to the last play or the final result, but how can you keep the players present and in the right headspace and smiling and maintaining eye contact between points? That's how can you keep your team playing together is the biggest thing, I guess if you're coaching a team. And then, when you're in practice, how detailed can you be with skills? I think like this is when I was doing kind of a course for coaching, is like give 2 pieces like of encouragement for every tweak or constructive criticism you make. That's something I really like, because I usually always have something constructive for a kid who's practicing a skill, like, nitpicking the details, but like, hey, you do this really well and you do this really well. I think let's change this. I found that keeps kids engaged. Whereas if you're constantly like, do this different, you're overwhelming them. Where you can take one detail at a time with skills to really make changes that last, right? Because they build or they get better at one detail, and then that's kind of locked in. Then they get better at another detail, and then you go one at a time, and then you put it all together, and they're better at that skill, at passing, at blocking, whatever it is. Off court, making sure that it's the same job as on court of keeping players in the right headspace. What are you doing between games if like coaching players at a tournament when we're in club, like, okay, what are you doing to prepare yourself for this next game? Are you on your phone the whole time in between? Are you eating properly? Are you fueling yourself? And then if we take like volleyball out of it completely, like it's not a game day or tournament day, just having a good relationship and kind of knowing what's going on, keeping touch in how your players are doing. If you're coaching, university athletes, like are they staying on top of classes? Just keeping a good relationship all around, and staying, as in touch and connected as possible with the players.
Yeah, I find do you start off with the encouragement, the positive feedback, or do you end off with it?
Usually it'll be the first thing is like, hey, you did this part of the skill really well. Let's, but we can trying to think of like a specific example. Maybe if it's like a player's arm swing, like it could be their drawback and everything's really good, but we can fix how your last 2 steps are in your approach, because you're not getting as much height as you can with your jump, to complement, the great arm swing you've got. So like if we're doing, the skill of hitting, it's, hey, like great arm, even if they might have blown a ball out the back or into the net, whatever, like great arm, like that was a great swing. We can change, like don't worry about where the ball went. Let's change how you approach. You might be able to get a little more height on your jump. Keep that swing the same, and you'll see a different result.
Yeah, I find when all you do is focus on the negative and you're constantly telling these kids how to play better, how this, and you don't recognize them for their strengths, kind of makes them lose passion, hey? Because the negative is very powerful, man. Like I've been in days where it's just a phenomenal day. Met some extraordinary, positive, just magnificent people. But then that one asshole comes along and just gives you the finger or says something just that's totally the opposite of who you are. And yeah, that can really, like, the negativity is so powerful. So when you got your coach and all they're saying is how to improve, and like, are you doing anything right? So I think that's a great way to kind of motivate these, like, your students, your players to be able to keep going.
Especially like not focusing on a negative result, because is like we talked about earlier, like can think about the result all we want, but that's not getting us to where we need to go, you know. Are there positives in how they actually did the action or things they can improve on, right? There's no negatives, I don't think, when you're getting better and improving. There's really nothing negative about it. You maybe make a mistake. That's not negative. That's moving forward. That's what do we take away from that, right?
So the process, you could learn something from it. And I like the idea of your holistic approach that even off the court, you still kind of embody the mindset of, okay, like they're developing that relationship of, okay, it's not just all volleyball. It's like, how are they doing in their home life? How are they kind of going about things when they aren't on courts? Or is it of a positive nature? How can you kind of add to their life of value? What inspired you to take the role of head coach at Spotlight Volleyball, and what vision do you have for the program?
So like I said, I have been coaching camps for past 2 summers before this. Not like full time, it's just be like a week here and there. I do a camp and I love it. Like it's the best. Get to know all these kids who are you get to see them when they're, you know, junior high school players, and then eventually you'll see them kind of rise up through that. Maybe eventually they play university. That I can't wait for that. When I see, you know, some of these players that I've coached with Spotlight, with other camps, go through the ranks, eventually be like a leader on their high school or club teams. And then I'm hoping, you know, a lot of these kids eventually want to play university, because we have a lot of kids at Spotlight who really love the game and can do that and have the ability to do that. So what inspired me was that, you know, my prior coaching experience was great, and I wanted to do kind of my own, set up my own thing and be responsible for the planning, how everything went, rather than just getting hired as one of the coaches, which is, you know, is great too. I wanted to, you know, try to take on more responsibility with the camp. And so I asked Jake, I was like, how do you go about like renting the gym out, or how do you go about, you know, communicating with parents and all that? He's like, I'll just join Spotlight. So then he ended up doing all that stuff for me. But I got to plan out how everything on the volleyball side, who we had as our coaches. We had a amazing group of coaches, Ali and Xavier. They both missed the last little bit, but just having them there, I think all the kids loved them. They had great contributions. So I got really lucky with who we had, you know, helping out with that. You know, I'd seen what Jake had done already with Spotlight, and
Dude, it's
was
amazing
like, I was like, yeah, sure, I'm in. And then he was such a help with social media, with communicating with parents, you know, all the management side of it, and then I could just focus on what we're doing on the court. So you had a second part of your question, I don't remember.
It was, and what vision do you have for the program?
It could go so many different ways. Next summer, we've discussed going to some other places, having some camps in other places around Alberta. We are, you know, we're Sherwood Park. We're Sherwood Park based. We're operating at Sherwood Park, but Tyler is starting the weight training part of it in September, which is super exciting, because that's, you know, that's your foundation. That's how you really make improvements as you get stronger. It is in season, so like the workout program with Tyler is a lot about maintenance,
Bro, he's
not
got it dialed in, man.
Mhm.
Like I had him last week on the podcast. For those of you who haven't listened to it, up the episode before, but yeah, Tyler is just dialed in. I could tell every single one of you like has your role in Spotlight, and it's just what Jake's built and kind of the vision that you've all got too with it, and kind of the passion for it. That's how I'm certain that with this trajectory, yeah, it could just be like the number one kind of, I think, isn't it already like the number one kind of training group in Sherwood Park?
Well, Park Volleyball Club is, established, like Park Elite for boys, and then Park Girls Volleyball Club. They're great. They've been going for a while. I coached with them. They're pretty well established in the club scene. Off season wise, there is a lot of stuff that happens for volleyball. So like, I coached a camp a couple weeks ago. It's just Sherwood Park Volleyball Camp. It's at Sal. It's like 100 and something kids. So that was awesome. There is a lot of resources during the summer for Sherwood Park. Weight training wise, though, I think this is something we're kind of doing differently than, a lot of what's going on in Sherwood Park. Just offering the on-court side of it,
Yeah.
and then like next off season, we'll have a different kind of workout program where it's all right. We're getting stronger, so we can go into school season, improved that way. But it can go a lot of different places. Like we talked with Jake about, it's good that we have like a gym to train in already too. So that's great. Maybe one day we have a facility to train in.
Dude, imagine if you guys had your gym, your own gym, bro.
Yeah, where we have a court, where we have weights, where we have maybe a beach court outside.
Oh man,
it's easy to visualize all that stuff. Would be awesome. You know what we're kind of focused on what we can do right now, but it's pretty awesome to think about like all the possibilities.
It's exciting. Once you're there though, it's never enough. You know what I mean? Like once you're there, then it's like, okay, how can we do more? How can we do more?
Yeah. And our vision with Spotlight is most of all, we want to be reliable and be somewhere where Sherwood Park athletes or athletes outside of Sherwood Park who maybe want to come still to Sherwood Park can come and know they're going to have a good time and know they're going to improve, right? Those two things are something that we want to be a guarantee when you're working with Spotlight Athletic Development is you're going to, make some new friends, hopefully, get out of your shell, get uncomfortable, but make strides in your game as a volleyball player and as a person. So, it's going to be really fun to see all these players who we've coached with Spotlight in their school seasons, because we're going to hopefully get out to a lot of those games and watch them play and watch them reap the benefits of the work they've done this summer.
Yeah, guys, you guys can't go wrong with Spotlight. I mean, these guys are passionate, they're driven, they're young, they're in it for the long run. They'll do anything. Okay, for you to improve. Only at Spotlight.
Yeah.
I probably like the kind of the passion that you, Jake, and Tyler have for this endeavor. True. It's like when I see someone really passionate about it, or even I think this is just human nature, you're drawn in. Hey, like when I hear Jake and Tyler talk about kind of their plans, and hearing you talk about kind of being a coach and volleyball for you, like that's just, yeah, it really uplifts me to see that. And I know it's like wanting to help people improve too, and kind of that mindset and taking that away and applying it to just the everyday life. You learn so much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sign up for Spotlight. So finding joy in the present moment. So with your busy schedule as a student, coach, and athlete, how do you stay grounded and find joy in the present moment?
Whenever I kind of find I'm drifting out of that, is I just breathe and I think about nothing except for breathing. Let's take a second and just breathe for a couple seconds.
Dude, it's relaxing, man.
it's so nice. It totally just resets you, brings you back to right now, because you're not doing anything else. You're not stressing about anything else. You're just worrying about your inhale and exhale. And that's what you're doing in the present, and that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah. There's this idea I don't know who said it, but the first introduction to life is your breathing, and the ending to life is breathing. So you might as well get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then it's just when you focus on your breath, and I've been doing a lot of meditation, and I feel like it seems my mind goes to like 100 different scenarios on what could have happened, should have happened, what ifs, what then, what happened in the past, what's going to happen in the future. I got to do this, I got to do that. But then focusing on like now, okay, what am I doing? Like, am I conversating right now to feel truly present right now and focus on the conversation? That it's liberating, because I think that's the ultimate happiness for me. When I am truly present, that's when I'm liberated. Like, when kind of the happiest moments in your life, or even the worst times, they're visceral, and you remember them for all that they are, because you're truly in the moment. Like the agony of like a breakup, of like the rejection of the girl you've been crushing on for months, or kind of the win that you felt after suffering so much for that game, because you're in the moment. And you can bypass all that by just focusing on your breath. Hey.
Mm-hmm. And I read a book kind of at the start of the summer. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. You read that?
Yeah, totally, man. I
kind of made a brief comeback to reading books. I didn't pick up a book for a really long time, and then I looked at Aaron Rodgers' book club. He used to go on the Pat McAfee show and like recommend a book to read. You know Aaron Rodgers?
I don't.
Quarterback for he's so like obviously he's 4-time MVP, I think. Quarterback for the New York Jets, played for the Packers. Like an eccentric, is that like a weird
eccentric,
pretty strange, different guy, and obviously a really high achiever, someone who's really interesting. He's recommending books on the show, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make a comeback to reading. And so the first one that stood out to me was that Eckhart Tolle. Like he's a spiritual speaker and leader, is not aligned with one religion or faith. It's that book like changed the way I saw a lot of things. I think just how I react to things that maybe are not how I wanted to go. So like it says anytime something bad happens, it's really just an opportunity to become more present. If you can catch yourself and realize that it's still what you have right now. It's not what's different now than 5 minutes ago. It's still just right now. And I've been able to kind of more catch myself. If something happens I don't like, maybe I'll react, I'll swear, or I'll have like something and be upset for a second. It's like I'm able to catch myself more and kind of get back to the present quicker. So that's something I've focused on. I think I've improved on. I think one of the best ways to be present is to do something that makes you uncomfortable. So like you run a lot. Do you find that like really helps?
That's why I run. Like before this, I just hit in like the 13, 15K. I don't really measure it as much, but yeah, that's how I stay present. Mm-hmm. I mean, podcasting, that's how I stay present, and like breathing, and just Eckhart Tolle is just, there's people like Chris Bumstead who are like super strong, just IFBB pro, just Olympians, and you got like Tom Brady, like these like quarterback, and you got like all these like Mike Tyson. But then there's like a different type of strong where you just not, you don't have the ego to be able to prove to other people that you are this high achiever, right? Because I feel like I'm wanting to chase all these things, but then once I'm there, it wasn't actually the result that made me happy, but the progress. And kind of Eckhart Tolle's taught me that, where nothing isn't really bad. Like, sure, we have morals and ethics. You don't kill people, don't steal, but it's the perception we have of it that makes it bad, right? When you go through an unimaginable event, it's not necessarily bad. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah, you don't have to label things good and bad, and we are so conditioned to.
Yeah, it is just what it is.
Yeah.
But it's like a battle. I haven't really found, like, there's this idea of kind of meditations, kind of Buddha, of enlightenment. That's kind of what that you could say Eckhart Tolle's enlightened, where I think it's just like full freedom, where you're not chained to your mind, you're not in this mental prison. But I think for me, I like to be in that prison sometimes, but at the same time, it's like the freedom for me is kind of my ego sometimes. And I don't know, like, when I don't have that ego, I'm less likely to run to give it my best, because I'm so attached to my identity. But then I read all these books, and you aren't your identity. It's all like ego. Because as soon as you, like, I think this speaker, this meditation expert, like, talked about like an iPad. Like, if you have materialism isn't beneficial, because it's the reason why we suffer, and like possession and all these things. Because if you buy an iPad, like, you're happy when you buy the iPad, but then when it's gone, when it's outdated, when you have to buy a new one, you suffer when it breaks, and that's kind of like with volleyball, right? Sure, you want to achieve kind of a certain degree of a level of success, and then it's great, you're happy when that happens, but once that's taken away from you, it's like you're sad. And it's like, but then it's like, okay, am I just gonna like be in my room and like just meditate 24/7? No, like, life isn't like that. There's definitely extremes, but kind of implementing that into your play style and like your objectives and goals, it's a good tool.
Like a study that I've like just seen on Instagram of people who spend money on experiences versus materialistic things, and they tend to be happier. People who spend money for experiences, traveling, going out to a movie or something, versus material things, is like, if you're too focused on, material, you're always going to want more, like you said. Experiences, when you're having a new experience, doing something uncomfortable, doing something that's fun, you tend to be more present, I'd say. And that book is definitely, you have to be really open-minded to look past kind of the language it uses. Like, I feel like some people could read that and be like, what is he talking about? It is really
ambiguous, right? It's really preachy too. It's like, like, this is like unclear. What is he trying to say?
Yeah. But if you like can look past that, and it says in it that, all the words you're reading are just signposts. Like, if you can actually understand the message behind it, that's what you should take out of it, not like worry about what words he's using because he, it says like being a lot in there with a capital B, and it's like someone might read that and be like,
grammatically,
okay, kind of strange. But like, if you can, look past the language it uses and just be open-minded to actually what it's trying to tell you, I'd say it's a pretty life-changing book. And just separate, that your mind and conscious are two separate things, and your mind is not always the present you, and tends to go back and forth for future and past and kind of distract you. And if you're in control of your conscious and your present, you can be better at using your mind as a tool. And like, your mind kind of works for you rather than working against you, because your mind can definitely work against you a lot of the time.
Dude, the mind can be very self-destructive.
Yeah.
And if you aren't conscious of inputting good habits and just fulfilling experiences and kind of good books to help armor it when the times do come where you experience hardship, and they do come for everyone, you're just going to resort to kind of the awful mindset of this self-destruction and kind of this is where you just become the victim and you don't feel like you are given the right cards and you feel like you deserve everything when you don't. And yeah, and there's this quote I'd like to, I forgot how it goes, but yeah, you had mentioned about experiences, and like, yeah, the experiences that we do have, they're so much more they're so much more powerful, because a lot of people think that um a lot of people seem to think that the experiences that you do get from life aren't as valuable, and like you see that Lamborghini and it's like, oh, that's like the possession I want, that'll make me happy. But research shows people enjoy possessions less than they expected, and they enjoy experiences more than they expected. In the end, people value what they did much more than what they owned. G.S. Bogle. And you go through life, right? And you have your cars, and maybe it is very expensive. Maybe you have a nice big house, mansion. Maybe you're worth millions of dollars. But I always think about, like, what are they going to say in my obituary? Like, what are they going to say about me when I'm gone? Like, who was I? Like, when you hear someone and they were just rich, like they were billions of dollars, just high up in status, it's like nobody's going to remember you. It's like, I don't, maybe just me, like I don't really feel that is respectable, you know? Like when you, I feel like that's not personable to people in your lives and like families and friends. It's not going to make them love you more. Versus, okay, did that person, like Jonah was there when I was feeling down and I needed a friend, or when my mom was suffering from this terminal disease, was he there for me? And that's what people are going to talk to you about. They're not going to talk to me about like, oh, like they were just this high achiever, like grind, hustle. And that certainly recalibrates my mind sometimes, because I want to be rich one day. You know, I want to be high status, high prestige, respected, and I want to give it my best. But then it's like, is that really what matters? You know? Or is it more like, who do I want to be? And then is this all ego? Like, what is my ego? I suffer because of my ego. And do you have any strategies or practices you use to avoid dwelling on negative thoughts or things that don't matter in the long run?
Yeah, just asking myself what I can do right now. You know, I have where I want to be in mind, you know, that exists there, the goals and all that. Those are great, but it's really what you can do right now to work towards those, right? You can think about the end result. It's kind of been a theme we've talked about a lot, is, you know, thinking about where you want to go to. But thinking about what actions you can take and then actually executing, doing them. I've kind of started journaling recently, and that helps me kind of sort out what I do need to do. Like before I go to bed, like the next day, what is my day going to look like? What am I going to do? And then it kind of forces you to be present and do those things rather than, you know, procrastinate, stress about it. If you can hold yourself accountable to do those, which is a whole nother challenge, but
certainly writing about kind of what's in store for the next day and making a plan instead of just going based on your emotions. You get rid of that and you go, this is going to happen no matter what, because the actions that I take in this day, the plan that I'm going to do, I don't have any control what's going to happen in 10 years. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, even 5 years, even a year from now, but I do have control of what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to be there for my friend. Is it going to be a wedding for a friend or a sibling? I'm going to be there. I'm going to be present. I'm going to get my good sleep. But then a lot of people seem to get in this like victim mentality of like, this happened to me, that happened to me. Okay, yeah, sure, it happened to you, yeah, that breakup happened, or sure, you went through that traumatic childhood, but that's that. You need to be able to, there are tools where you can work on it to alleviate what you're experiencing. And I'm a believer nobody gets through life unscathed. Like we all go through stuff, poor or rich, if you're privileged or if you're not. If you're in a country where the GDP is just higher up, like maybe there's depression in the family, maybe there's a disease, maybe you've gone through 30 years of your life and nothing's happened, but then the 1 year you find out that you can't have kids. There's like all these things that do happen to us. You live long enough, something's going to happen, but it's just constantly arming your mind, your soul, the tools necessary to be able to combat the barbarians when they do come knocking on your door.
And it is easier for some people to say than others that, like, I'm present, and I'm, because some people, people who don't have legs, like I'm lucky to, have something to pursue and kind of work towards every day. I can play, because, I love volleyball. I can do that. It's what I love to do. There's people who can't play sports because they have a disability or anything like that. It makes it so much more difficult because it eliminates some of those possibilities. We got the Paralympics going on right now, which I love. Our Canada women's, we have the best sitting volleyball team, highest ranked sitting volleyball team in the world. I love seeing that. It's so inspirational to me. People who were probably former really good volleyball players have a setback. They lost a leg or they can't physically play. So, all right, what can I do next? I'm going to play sitting volleyball. I'm going to play in the Paralympics. Like, it's inspiring. I'm looking forward to watching that team. But like, what I'm saying is that I think I have it pretty good, and it makes it easy. It makes it easier to be present than others. But you do see both sides of it. You see people who, blame uncontrollable circumstances. And then you see people who thrive despite what they've been through, and how difficult their life has been. They've pushed through it because they don't have any kind of blame or anything for what's happened to them. They're in the present no matter what.
We revere those people that have gone through an unimaginable pain and suffering. They get into a car crash, they lose both their legs. We get that that's just physically, we can see that is just no easy feat of being able to bounce back from that. Because there are nights where you are, what if I didn't get into that car crash? Why me? And you wonder, was I a bad person? Why did God let this happen? Maybe you're spiritual or you're religious, but then we see that person succeed. They're in the Paralympics and they have this phenomenal story, and we revere those people that have gone through all these atrocities and all this like unfortunate events, and we look into ourselves and we go, do I have that in me? And yes, we do. We just have to keep looking within, because a setback isn't necessarily a setback. Could be an exit that leads to another entrance for your opportunity to be that light for other people. And
then, that time you spend working on being more present, getting uncomfortable, doing things that maybe you don't want to do, breathing, anything that puts you in the present, you're equipping yourself just in case something does happen where it just becomes that much more difficult to stay present.
Yeah.
You're equipping yourself for what if something like that happens? How am I going to respond to that?
Yeah. Like tomorrow's no guarantee, man.
Yeah.
I mean, not all of our loved ones are going to live forever. We're not all going to be healthy tomorrow. We're not all going to reach our dreams and ambitions. There are evils in the world, and there are kind of unfortunate events. There's viruses, there's like mental health issues, there's just things don't go your way. What do? Do you have the tools necessary to be able to crawl back out of that hole? How do you encourage your players to focus in the present during the high pressure situations in games or in their personal lives?
In game, I think you have to lean on your teammates. Eye contact between points, always bringing it in. Like you see in volleyball, like between points, there's a little huddle between everyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to hold that a little extra. If things aren't going well, you got to hold that huddle a couple more seconds. Get a time warning, because you're kind of getting this energy out of each other, and reassuring each other that it's okay. We can get back to the present. We can turn around whatever's happening. Make eye contact. Give your teammates a smile, and mind your body language, right? Because that's momentum so huge in volleyball. Partially because of that, like players on the other side, when things aren't going well, is the body language just kind of snowballs, and then eventually it's like, well, you already know this team's done because the body language that they're using. If you can maintain a positive kind of body language and outlook throughout a game, no matter what happens, then yeah, you'll do all right. Like you gotta, after every set, it resets 0-0. You get a whole clean slate, right? No, if you can lose 25-1, it's the same as if you lost 26-24. It's the same. You get a blank slate. Between matches, if we have our Friday, Saturday double headers every weekend during the season. So Friday, we lose a game really badly on Friday. What is the body language like on the bus on the way back to the hotel or whatever, or the next day when we have training? We're preparing for another game against the same team who maybe we just had a really bad game against. It's happened before for sure. But are we present throughout that preparation phase for the next game, or are we thinking about that beating that happened the night before?
Yeah.
And it's on the other side. If you win a match, are you going to act like you're all good and you don't need to, do the same preparation for the next game? No, right? You can win a match. You have to get back to the present. You can't dwell on that win last night when you're moved on to the next game, right? So win or lose, you have to spend your time preparing for the next set or the next match present and, diligent.
Yeah, it's having that balance of, okay, you can't get overconfident when you do win, because that just like plagues kind of your decision making, and then you just underestimate your opponents. And then when you do experience those loss from the night before, you dwell on that, and that's just going to cause you to go into battle with a losing mentality. And if you do that, you've already lost. Going into battle with a mentality of, oh man, we lost the night before. That must mean we suck. Like that must mean that the setters aren't doing as well. I'm not doing as well. But then striking that balance of, okay, we'll be fine. Whatever happens, and we can charge through no matter what is liberating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On game days last year, kind of a change I made halfway through the year is I'd be busing either to school or we'd be on the team bus when we're on the road, like from our hotel to the school that we're playing at. And on those bus rides is my favorite time to just do those breathing exercises and visualize. That's like that's my favorite way to prepare. And I found it did affect my performance when I started doing that instead of just scrolling on my phone on those bus rides.
Yeah.
Or like talking with your teammates and stuff too is a good way to be present. But identifying what you need to do to prepare mentally is something that I think gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah. Clearing your head
mm-hmm.
to make sure you're not thinking really about anything and you're just focusing on right now. What can you do? And when the time does come, those things that happen that are out of your control, and you don't let it screw your decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so how did you come about finding kind of the meditation and breathing exercises? Was it like you just wanted a way to improve and you just stumbled upon it?
I talked about it a lot in the book in Power of Now, but before that even, um, I'd heard bits and pieces about it of how it actually affects performance. We had Greg was one of our assistant coaches slash like sports psych, and he talked about it quite a bit. And once I actually like got serious about doing it on game days, whenever I needed to, the difference was so noticeable. Like when I started doing it, and I'd tell anyone to try it. Don't be afraid of like looking corny because you're, eyes closed, visualizing, breathing, like meditating. Like there's nothing corny about that. It's like actually has proven effects on whatever it is you need to do and be present for. Like, yeah, it's breathing's underrated.
Yeah. There's so many benefits, so many studies that have undergone with, remarkable results, that it does augment the physical and emotional, just overall well-being of your mind, of your relationships, of everything in your life. And yeah, even if you don't play sports, it's just a good way to remind yourself that you are a living human being, that all the baggage that you're carrying, kind of that's so much of a burden, you can let it all go.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have all these mental battles of, oh, what if that, what if this, and then you're anxious, you're depressed. It's like, no, you're alive right now. You focus on your breath. I've even heard of people doing it for hours. That's like next level.
Yeah, I've been trying to kind of see how long I can exhale for.
Yeah.
Just, like take a big breath in and just see if I can go like a full minute exhale. Like,
yeah.
And then if you're doing running or any kind of conditioning, it helps that too. Like just how you breathe during the day, like your level of conditioning. Like volleyball is not a sport where you're running, but it is a sport where you get tired and you're expending a lot of energy. So anyone who's a volleyball player who doesn't think that like conditioning is important, well, it'll help you breathe during a match. It'll help your mental game during a match, if anything, and physical. If you got more blood flowing, more breath coming in and out, it'll affect you. So, running is something I would have gone to, but I heard it's hard on the joints. And so like as a volleyball player, I don't really want to compromise my knees or ankles. But once I'm done playing volleyball, for sure is something I really want to get into because
dude, we were talking about it at the Dave's kind of birthday celebration bowling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, let me know, man. I love to run.
Yeah, I'll hop in the run club for sure once I'm a retired athlete.
Yeah, man. But yeah, bro, thank you so much for coming on the long-term podcast. It's been a pleasure.
I have one more question. Do you have any book recommendations for me?
Book recommendations?
Yeah. Do you ever give those on the podcast?
Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Probably the best book. But yeah, I think that what turns people away from this book is like it is kind of, he does say the Lord in certain parts, but it's like it's kind of like you take a lot of inspiration from it, like purpose and meaning. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl is just phenomenal. Like he's this guy that everything was taken away from him. He was like this psychologist who had a wife, and he was living kind of an upper class life in Europe. And yeah, when Hitler came into power, kind of just he was Jewish, so yeah, he underwent some of the most horrific things, but it didn't let him become bitter. And he talks about the camp life, kind of living on a quarter of bread per day for like 2-3 years. And then he talks about kind of his patience after he had been liberated from the camps, and kind of his experiences with kind of the mindset shifts and kind of the spiritual journey that he underwent. Yeah, I've read it 3 times. I think you would definitely derive a lot of value from it. You could even implement it to sports. I think he has a lot of good insight onto what it's like to undergo the most physical and mental torture in life. But yeah, are there any last words that you'd like to say to kind of athletes out there, or like young athletes?
Just embrace the struggle every day. Put yourself up to those uncomfortable, difficult things, so that you can be ready for when they spring on you in life, because it's so unpredictable. Prepare yourself by putting yourself through that ringer, making yourself uncomfortable, and embrace it and be present when you're doing it.
Thank you, Jonah Karsten, everyone. And yeah, go to Spotlight. And as always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope, strengthen your faith, and keep it long term. Peace.
Thanks.